I remember Chuck Noll, Hall of Fame Pittsburgh Steeler head coach. We were talking about the Steelers earlier. He said, champions are champions because they do the ordinary things consistently and better than everyone else. They don't make extraordinary plays. They do the ordinary things better and more consistently than everyone else. And so these communication standards suggest let's keep the basics the basics. Let's do it consistently. Let's do it with excellence. And let's do it so that way the people that we're called to lead will be in a position to follow us and to trust us into where we're trying to go. And we don't fall into mission drift because we're just doing stuff, but those things are not in alignment. So, with that, JB, you're going to be talking about managing stress and pressure and rejection. So, tell me more.
Wow, that's a big one right there. It's so funny, like managing stress. The military, they go through, put you through these programs, whether it's, a Ranger assessment selection process or Special Forces advanced selection or things like that, or even if it's simple as like basic training, it's all putting people into stressful situations to see how they will react. And I just remember when I was teaching like officer candidate school, we were trying to teach young officers that, when you give a radio call, do it calmly, do it accurately, especially if, you're calling in close air support or mortars or any type of call for fire. You have to do it accurately, right? So you don't call that in on your own troops and it's hits what you want to hit and that sort of thing. So we used to do have a little radio call. We had like a little sound booth, and there was a radio they had to put in operations. And it's easy for them to pick up the call and be like, Bluetooth 7, this is Bluetooth 1 in position, grid coordinate follows, and give the grid coordinate. It was easy. So I'm like, all right, we have to spice this up a bit. So I'd make them run around the barracks, do push-ups, everything else. And then when they went into the booth, we would pipe in all these bombs and explosions and, heavy metal music. And it was so loud. They were like, they would start screaming on the radio. And then I would be like, why are you screaming? And they're like, oh, I don't know, because it's fine. Talk slowly. And then would do it again, then talk slowly. Then I'd have them come back in, and I would have the radio cord cut, so they'd be like talking on an empty hand mic, and I'd be like, the radio's not even hooked up. They're like, oh my gosh. So you have to practice those things in managing stress, and there's enough stress out there already without you bringing more to it. So you have to bring calm to the chaos. And I always saw the best leaders are so calm under pressure. They bring in calm to the chaos. It's, it's times I'm like, are they paying attention? Yeah, they are, because they're assessing everything that's happening. So let me give you some ways to manage your daily stress, right? First thing is, it goes back to what Freddie said, mastering the basics. It's embrace this discipline through routine. Why does the Army work, for example? Works, for example, because it's a routine. We tell you when to get up. We tell you when to eat. We tell you when to work out. We tell you when to go to the bathroom. You know, we, we, we tell you when to go to sleep. We tell you what time range is. You work very well in a structured environment. So if you not structuring your day and having your next day plan, then you are putting stress on yourself. You don't have to be. I'm just sitting down here today and I'm getting ready, and I have my list of things I have to accomplish today. I just write them on a piece of paper. So have those things that you can do this. So you need to leverage structure to create consistency in your daily life. Leverage structure to create consistency in your daily life. By doing that, you'll reduce chaos. And guess what else you do? You will foster that resiliency. What's resiliency? Bounce back. Okay. It's a bounce back. Get knocked down, come back up. Um, Second thing is you need to have a perspective, the power of the perspective, as some people call it. Recognize the difference between like an immediate reaction and a measured response to stressors. Okay. Um, Obviously, if you're on a subway and something dangerous has happened, that's immediate. You got to react. But other things is like, okay, I'm driving into the city. Well, shall I go at, between 7 and 9 a.m. or leave between 5 and 7 p.m. Or maybe I can modify that so I'm not meeting the heavy traffic coming in. So you have to be able to plan that so you can manage that. So manage that power perspective. Listen, things are going to happen. It's going to come at you. There's going to be a traffic jam. Sometimes we're not sure what's going on. Adapt, overcome. Learn to evaluate the situations objectively and prioritize tasks and make decisions under pressure. And that's it. Adapt and overcome. Things happen in life. When we talk about that strength and community that Freddie was uh, describing, you need a reliable support system to share burdens and gain perspective. Like with us here, you can share with us what's happening and we can give you some perspective in life, or with a good friend, or with maybe a teammate. So build a reliable support system. It doesn't have to be huge. You don't need to have 18 friends. Okay. So you can narrow that down, narrow your focus. And that last part I talk about is when things are going on, you got to what we call in the military fight in the now. Sometimes when I was going through a military selection or a school, I was just trying to make it to lunch, and I was just trying to make it to dinner. Okay, that tastes gone. So that's what you have to do. You have to go after it each session at a time. And the last thing I'll tell you about managing stress is you got to love the battle. You gotta, there's a lot of people, and Freddie's was a professional athlete. I'm sure there were people that were amped up on game days, and Freddie can tell you who they were, but there was people that were amped up for practice, right? I know that was Freddie. So you got to be amped up for the practice. You got to bring your best for the practice, okay? Because that's where it's at. Okay. So hopefully you got out of that. Now we'll talk about workplace rejection. I'm telling you, like the toughest thing is sometimes the workplace, right? Because you have to understand what's happening there and take rejection as feedback, not failure, but an opportunity to learn and grow. You might be in an office and people might not like you. That's the way it is. Listen, I was a pretty popular guy in the military, but there's people who didn't like me. I had to get over it. Okay. And I had to go out and do my best every single day. So they can't ever say, hey, you're not giving effort. You, you're not coming in with the right attitude because you always control that. No one controls your effort and your attitude. Nobody. You want to try to break my attitude? I'm going to bring even a better attitude. You want to break my effort? I'm going to bring even a bigger effort. Okay. That's what you have to do. So that's part of managing workplace rejection. The second thing is stay mission focused. Align setbacks with your long-term goals. You get knocked down, come back forward. Maintain your own commitment for achieving success. Maybe it took you 12 days to do some type of Mitch your boss needed, and he whips it across the room. I pick it up, and guess what? I'm bringing you that document next time, even better. Reflect on yourself for growth, self-assessment and improvement. Okay, we don't always like to do that, but assess it for yourself. Find your areas of growth and seek mentorship or coaching as development. You know what I like to do after every major exercise? I do 3 sustains, 3 improvements. I just write them down on a little post-it note. Hey, 3 things I thought I did well, 3 things I need to work on. Even if there were 10 things I need to work on, I'm only picking 3. Okay. And then I keep those. And then about every month I go through the same and I'm like, oh man, I need to work on that. Boy, I need to work on that same thing. I need to work on that same thing. I need to work on that same thing. Okay, now I have something I need to focus and work on. Okay. The last thing I'll tell you about managing workplace rejection is celebrate that persistence, that you're in it to win it. You're an anvil. Maybe you have a boss that just wants to bust your balls and hit you with a hammer. Come on, bring it to me. I'm an anvil, pal. You're not going to be able to break me. Okay. So what you need to do is you need to demonstrate demonstrate that persistence and share those stories of how you can do that with others. And that's it. I always found that, a lot of times, even in the military, when you go to these courses, they try to break your spirit. It's not going to happen. And once they feel that your spirit can't be broken, they're moving on to somebody else. Okay. So you come with that. So that's my tips for you today as far as managing stress and managing workplace rejections. Back to you, Fred.
Well, I love that. And when you were saying that story about don't bring chaos to the situation,
All
and
right.
I can imagine how much fun you were having, making it as chaotic on those young soldiers as possible for them to try to make those calls, and they have to do it calmly. I'm reminded of actually a true story as well. Dr. Martin Luther King, this was during the civil rights movement. Um, I believe they're trying to get James Meredith enrolled at the University of Ole Miss. And there was a campus riot at the time, and they were having a meeting in a church near there. And they started throwing smoke gas in the church building. And this is on video. Like smoke is seeping in, and the people and the place is surrounded, and there's police, and didn't know, are they going to bombard it? Are they going to set it on fire? Like they didn't know what was going to happen. And you see this video of Dr. King standing up, and in the moment of the most chaos and stress and anxiety, people are concerned for their life. They're concerned about what's going on. And he talked calmly and slowly with peace and certainty, told everyone to stay calm, and we're all going to work through this. The authorities will, and it was a master class on keeping your calm in chaos. And so I just want to encourage you, if you are going through something and just things are stressful, I just thank God that, you're not having necessarily deal with what he was dealing with at the time. So if he can maintain his calm, we can take a moment, be present, keep our composure, and make sure that we're not causing the people that's depending on us, and they're making decisions. Our teams are making decisions and they're feeding off of our feedback. So if we at least exude a sense of peace and calm, it can at least help our team as they're having to follow our leadership. Beth, I know you've got something on that too.
Well,
It's a
I
great
just think
story,
it's,
Freddie.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that story. I think when I think about working with individual clients, a lot of times people are trying to figure out, what is it? How do I make this work for myself? How do I, try to navigate chaos and navigate overwhelm and really bring myself back to, like JB was talking about, leveraging structure, embracing routine. I think the thing that has been most helpful is finding what works for you. Finding what makes you feel calm, finding what works for you when it comes to structure. Is it, thinking about your quarterly, your year in quarters, thinking about it, every 3 months, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to think about what I want to accomplish. Is it looking at your week? Is it looking at your vision and your mission and your goals and time blocking in that way? Is it having an accountability partner? What is it that allows you to take this what could be overwhelm and chaos and bring it into something that works for you? And what works for others may not work for you, right? There's 7 habits of highly successful people, and that could work. There might be one or two in there, but I want you to find the habits that are successful for you. And so as leaders, when we find those and we model those, we can then allow other people to kind of see how it works, but encourage them to also find theirs, right? So I find that that is most helpful. The other thing that I thought was interesting, JB, what you talked about, keeping perspective. I think that is so important. As human beings, we're wired to protect ourselves. When we're walking through the jungle, we have to be ready if a tiger attacks. But not all the time when we're going through life is a tiger about to attack us, right? But we still have this protection. Our ego looks for reasons to keep us safe. So we're looking for this all the time. physically, emotionally, mentally. And when we keep perspective, we say to ourselves, I am no longer in a jungle needing to protect. I might be able to allow some light in. I might be able to allow new perspective. I might be able to allow myself to step back from what I think is scary or overwhelming or maybe causing me stress, and pull back to be able to see that picture and keep that perspective. I love the question that I ask a lot myself is it a mountain or is it a molehill? I ask that in my relationship with my husband. I ask it with my kids. You can get so worked up about something, it feels like a mountain, but maybe it's a molehill. And so keeping that perspective allows you to just have a little more freedom, right? So I love that, JB. I think that is it's critical. It's critical when you move through life.